Hello, and welcome to FanCookingTastic. Today, we're getting into trouble.
Shut the fridge and more. Did you forget how to close the door? Welcome back.
Hello, and welcome to FanCookingTastic. In today's episode, we're seeing what trouble we can get into with oil, salt, and lime juice.
It's Betty time.
For today's episode, you're going to need 5 normal-sized avocados, extra virgin olive oil, lime juice, and table salt. Hello and welcome to the show. Today we're taking a bit of a sidetrack. We're going to not make an entire meal, but we're going to make a couple of things that go well with most meals. 1, we're going to make guacamole. 2, we're going to make poor man's pesto. Poor man's pesto because we're not using traditionally the pine nuts. They're so bloody expensive. So let's get started. These are pretty easy to make. We're going to have some gadgets. We're going to have some more gadgets. And we're going to no doubt make a big mess. A really big mess. So let's get on with what we need. First, let's make the guacamole. So the guacamole, we're going to use the avocado. Now the avocado is loaded with vitamins and minerals. It's a superfood. Look it up. Off the top of my head, I think there's C and D, maybe A and potassium and B, all kinds of stuff. You could live off of these things, apparently. Anyway, these we're going to cut up. We're going to get a cutting board first, and it's very easy to make. We're going to need to get a few things else from the cupboard too. Hello, spice cupboard. We need some olive oil and some table salt. And let's rummage around and see if there's anything more that we need. I don't think so. Nope, that's about it. We're gonna use fresh garlic too. So we have our lovely avocados. Now, there's many different schools of thought on how to open these things and peel them and get the insides out. I use several funny tools. This gadget is really neat. It's got a knife. It has a knife to cut the skin. It has a gripper in the middle to grip the pit, which you can then poke it out with your finger. And then you have a spoon mashing thing that you drag through the pulp. Let's see how this thing works. See if it's any good or not. So first, you just take your handy knifey thing and you try to cut laterally along the whole thing. Now that's pretty decent looking. There's that funny pit we have to get out, right? So we take the blades of this, you put it onto the pit, give it a twist, and apparently it's supposed to come out. But it does come out pretty easily. I've tried, it didn't work, but see if you can grow one of these things. Here in Canada, I doubt we have the climate to actually turn them into an avocado tree to grow fruit, but it's an ornamental plant nonetheless. However, we got enough gardening going on around here. Into the green bin it goes. So before we get to scooping all of these out, we're going to cut these ones. Oh, this one here is not fully ripe. You know, that's the only trouble with buying them by the bag, I found, is that some of them are not ripened. So what do you do when you've got 2 or 3 that are ripe and some that are just plain green? Well, put them in a paper bag with some apples. That actually helps speed the ripening process. There's fumes or whatever it is. Somebody will let me know. But there is some sort of a chemical that comes off of the apples and helps ripen these avocados. Now, it's a good thing This is plastic because it just went across my hand. And if that was a metal knife, this would be a whole different show, wouldn't it? Somebody be phoning 911. All right, the last one here. Oh, carve through this not so ripe bit. There we go. There. Oh, that one took a bit of the. That one isn't really ripe, but we're gonna make do. I'm gonna get this pit out of here. The seed, I guess it is, and it's stuck. So we gotta use our tool. Well, there you go. If you ever wanted to see what the inside of an avocado plant or a pit looked like, there we go. No, not today. Okay, so now we got to get the skin out of here, out of the inside of this thing. Bugger. Of course, it's going to stick into the nice pulp that we want to get out into our guacamole. What the heck is guacamole, anyways? Well, it's a name of a dish whose origins, no doubt, come from the Spanish regions, the Mexican regions, South American regions, and it's simply a nice, lovely side dish. Now, they must think that our avocados are huge because look at the size of this paddle. Anyway, what you're apparently supposed to do, if the camera can see that, is wave this thing through because it helps slice the avocado for you. Not bad. Not bad. Sometimes I'll just use a spoon. That's a little easier. But you know what? We are all about gadgets here on FanCookingTastic. So let's use the gadgets. Not bad. Working good so far. I think it works best on the ripe ones. If you get them that are too ripe, they're too soft and they're very squishy to work with. So not good. And that one's not so bad. Now, avocado is a bit funny because once you cut it open, it starts to oxidize relatively quickly, and that can be a pain. So you're either going to make this snack and eat it right away, or you can preserve it in the fridge with a cling film cover, like a saran cover, keeping the air off of it, which will be fine. Wow. Okay, that one's a little underripe. There, that comes out good. Okay, so just squish that through. So that's not a bad tool. A little messy, as you can see. Looks like I've just squished worms. So guacamole, what can you do with it? Well, pretty much anything. You can serve it on a hamburger. You can serve it with tortilla chips. There's probably a gazillion other uses I can't think of at the moment. But it's, as I say, it's a superfood. So go have at her. And it's good. So now we're gonna chop this up. We got to chop this up. You can't just use the guacamole in chunks. You can use sliced avocado, of course. Put that on a burger or in a salad, I guess. But the whole point here is to chop this up into little bits rather than using an electric chopper. That would just puree the living daylights out of it, and you'd have a mush. Now, if you like your guacamole that way, go for it. But I like a little bit of chunk in it. Some people actually go as far as they'll put tomato in it as well. We just sort of mash this around. Keep mashing and keep mashing until it gets softer and softer. Sometimes you just got to keep cutting with the knife, especially the harder bits. But this is a very easy dish to make, so you could just make this for lunch one day or anything that you want. Now, wormy green hands over here. Okay. Olive oil. There's no precise measurement for this. This is half the fun here of cooking, is just sort of add a bit and see how that goes. Because what's that going to do is make a softer guacamole for you. And if you think it's still a little dry or too chunky and it's not mashing up properly, then you can always add more. We're going to add a little bit of salt. Word of the day, operative here is little. If you add too much, the deer are going to come and eat your guacamole. So you don't need much because you're likely going to be serving it on salted chips too, right? So just keep whipping this thing around. It's getting softer and softer, but there's still some chunks in it. So if you, like I said, if you want this even softer, like a creamed version, go ahead and put it in your puree. Now, if they were a little bit more ripe, it wouldn't be an issue. Oh, we're missing one key ingredient. That is lime juice. We're going to cheat. We're not going to squeeze our lime juice. We're just going to simply pour in a little bit. This, just a bit, flavors it, but it also helps with the oxidization a little bit as well. In that it prevents it from taking place as fast. Hey man, get in there. Okay. And that is essentially it. There is the lovely guacamole. Ceiling cam can see that pretty good. We don't usually eat much here on the show, but we should give it a try. So, what do you serve this with? I like lime chips. That's a lot of lime. However, serve it with regular chips, serve it with salsa, serve it with scoops. Any kind of tortilla chip is really good. So let's try this here. Let's see how this works out. A little chunky, so we'll get past some of the chunks. There we go. All right. Just a little bit more salt, not much. Here we go. Oh yeah, don't forget to stir it in. Or someone else is going to get the next mouthful is going to be loaded with salt. Okay. So super easy meal, as you can see. And you know what? I guess if you had enough of this, I'm going to have to steal some more now to make sure it tasted good. You could make a whole meal out of this, I suppose. Here we go. Bon appetit. That's pretty good. Yep. All right. So, to preserve this, what do we do? Well, we're going to get a container that it's going to fit into almost like pretty much right to the top. Okay. And this is how we do dishes around here. You can use one of our fantastic scrapers because all of this is going to go into this dish and it's going to fill it right up to the top. Okay, so that's really critical. Remember, air is an enemy of guacamole. Guacamole, ole! So nonetheless, we just spoon that all in there. There. And flatten it all out. Try and get all the air out of it. As much of it as you can. Because you want to serve this nice and green. So tasty. There. That's pretty well flat. But now for the secret. And that's a bit of saran wrap, cling film, whatever you want to call it. Depending on where you are in the world. But you don't just slap it on top. You actually lift and press this down all over the guacamole. Okay, so there you've created a nice seal over the whole top, like a skin. Then you can put your lid on top. And you're good to go. Wrap that around and just put it in the fridge. When you take it out, say after overnight or whatnot, when you take it out, you might get a small brown film on top. You can just gently scrape that off if you don't want to eat it. All it is it's oxidization, just like an apple or any other fruit that you may be exposed to the elements. Obviously, if it's oozing away and slimy, it's gone rotten.
Shut the fridge and more.
For more FanCookingTastic episodes, click these links that seem to be filling up my kitchen, and please like, comment, and subscribe.